I'm an officer in the Navy in our country, serving for the past 10 years. I, 31M, met my wife Jane, 31F, at the Naval Academy where we were both training. She was brilliant, dedicated, and passionate about serving our country. We dated for 2 years before getting married 5 years ago. My mother wasn't thrilled about our marriage from the start. She wanted me to marry my high school girlfriend Sarah, who came from a traditional family and was ready to be a stay-at-home wife. Jane joined the Navy 8 years ago and quickly distinguished herself. She graduated at the top of her class and was known for her leadership skills. Within a few years, she had earned her rank of lieutenant through hard work and dedication. Even my commanding officers praised her abilities. I was so proud of her achievements, but my mother always made snide comments about how Jane was too focused on her career and not enough on family. Last year, everything changed. During a routine training exercise, there was a catastrophic equipment failure. Jane was leading her team through a simulation when a cable snapped, causing severe injuries to her leg and back. I still remember getting that call and rushing to the hospital. The next few months were hell. Jane underwent multiple surgeries and intense physical therapy. She fought hard to recover, hoping to return to active duty. Throughout her recovery, my mother kept pushing her agenda. She would visit Jane in the hospital and make comments like maybe this is a blessing in disguise or now you can focus on giving deaf children. She even brought pamphlets about stay-at-home mom support groups. Jane was polite, but I could see how much these comments hurt her. 6 months ago, the medical board made their decision. Jane was declared unfit for active duty and was medically retired. It devastated her. She had lost not just her career but a huge part of her identity. The recovery process was mentally harder than the physical healing. She went from being an active, respected officer to suddenly having to redefine her whole life. Last week, my colleague Lieutenant Raj Kumar announced his wedding. We've served together for 3 years and he's getting married to his longtime girlfriend. The invitation arrived at our house addressed as Lieutenant and Mrs. Dev Maxey. When Jane saw it, she went completely silent. Then she pointed out that according to military protocol, it should have been Lieutenants Dev and Jane Maxey. In our country, retired military personnel retain their ranks. It's a matter of respect for their service. Some officers add retired before their rank, while others use their rank as is. It's a personal choice, but the rank is theirs to keep. Jane has always been proud of earning her rank and wants to be acknowledged by it. I tried explaining to Jane that Raj probably didn't think too deeply about the address. He's been busy with wedding preparations and might have just followed a standard format. But Jane sees it differently. To her, being addressed as just Mrs. feels like her years of service and sacrifice are being erased. My mother, always ready to give her unwanted opinion, found out about the invitation issue during a family dinner last weekend. She went on a long rant about how Jane was being difficult and should be honored to be addressed as Mrs. Maxey. She brought up her own marriage, saying she was proud when people started calling her Mrs. Maxey Sr. Then she started her usual speech about how women in the military lose their femininity. I made the huge mistake of telling Jane what my mother said. Jane reminded me of all the times my mother had undermined her career choice. During our wedding planning, my mother had insisted on traditional vows where Jane would promise to be an obedient wife. Jane had refused, causing the first of many conflicts. When Jane got promoted to lieutenant, my mother didn't attend the ceremony, claiming she had a headache. The wedding is in 2 months and Jane wants me to ask Raj for a new invitation with the correct address. I understand her feelings but I think it's a bit much. Wedding invitations are expensive and usually ordered in bulk. Plus, Raj has always been respectful of Jane and her rank. I don't think he meant any disrespect. I suggested we just attend the wedding and let the invitation issue go, but Jane accused me of invalidating her feelings. She said if I won't stand up for her respect, she won't attend the wedding. My mother keeps sending messages saying Jane is being childish and suggesting we see a counselor to address Jane's anger issues. My sister thinks I should support Jane and ask for the new invitation. She reminded me how hard Jane worked for her rank and how much she's already lost due to her injury. My father, ever the peacekeeper, says I should stay out of it and let Jane handle it herself. My mother has now started calling other family members to complain about how Jane is causing unnecessary drama. I feel stuck between supporting my wife and keeping the peace. Jane has already lost so much with her medical retirement. I see how much she struggles with her new reality. Every morning, I watch her wince in pain as she does her physical therapy exercises. She's trying so hard to build a new life while dealing with constant pain and the loss of her career. Part of me thinks asking for a new invitation is a small thing if it would make Jane feel respected and acknowledged. But another part worries that my mother will use this to further her narrative about Jane being difficult and demanding. I don't want to create workplace drama with Raj either. I need advice on how to handle this situation without making things worse. Should I ask for a new invitation? How do I deal with my mother's interference? Most importantly, how do I support Jane while keeping peace in the family? TL, Doctor, wife upset about wedding invitation not acknowledging her military rank, mother making situation worse by getting involved. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and the situation has spiraled into something I never expected. What started as an issue with a wedding invitation has exposed deeper problems in my family, particularly with my mother's behavior. After my last post, I decided to have a serious talk with my mother about respecting boundaries. I visited her house last Sunday, thinking a face-to-face conversation would be more effective. I should have known something was off when I saw Sarah's car in the driveway. Yes, my ex-girlfriend Sarah was having tea with my mother. Let me provide some context about Sarah. We dated in high school and early college before I joined the Naval Academy. She came from a wealthy, traditional family and my mother adored her. When I met Jane at the academy, Sarah and I had been broken up for 2 years. Sarah had married someone else and moved to a different city. I hadn't thought about her in years. During my conversation with my mother, she revealed she had already taken action about the wedding invitation issue. She contacted Mrs. Kumar, the groom's mother, whom she knows from their charity club. My mother told her that Jane was making unreasonable demands about the invitation and suggested I was embarrassed by the whole situation. Mrs. Kumar, apparently concerned, spoke to her son, my colleague Raj. The next day at work, Raj approached me. He was understanding and immediately offered to get new invitations printed. But he also mentioned that several other officers' wives were talking about the situation, thanks to my mother's gossip. I was already dealing with this mess when Jane called me at work, crying. She had just come back from physical therapy and stopped at our local coffee shop. There, she overheard 2 Navy wives discussing her situation. They were saying she was causing drama because she was bitter about her medical retirement. One of them even suggested she was using the invitation issue to get attention. Jane traced these rumors back to my mother. But the worst part was yet to come. Jane's friend Maria, another Navy wife, sent her screenshots of a conversation from the Navy Wives social group. My mother had been sharing details about Jane's medical condition, recovery struggles, and even suggesting that Jane was mentally unstable due to her retirement. When I confronted my mother about this, she defended herself by saying she was protecting me. Then she dropped the real bombshell. She had been meeting Sarah regularly for the past few months. Sarah got divorced 6 months ago and moved back to our city. My mother saw this as a sign that I should reconsider my marriage to Jane. Apparently, my mother and Sarah had long discussions about Jane's behavior. Sarah, according to my mother, said she would have been honored to be addressed as Mrs. Maxey and couldn't understand why Jane was making such a fuss. My mother even showed Sarah the wedding invitation and they both agreed Jane was being unreasonable. The betrayal goes deeper. During Jane's recovery in the hospital last year, my mother had visited her alone one day. Jane finally told me what happened during that visit. My mother had suggested that I deserved better than a broken wife and that perhaps this was a good time to rethink our marriage. She told Jane that Sarah was unhappy in her marriage and had always regretted letting me go. Jane hadn't told me about this conversation because she was already dealing with her injuries and didn't want to create more problems. She had hoped my mother would come to accept her over time. Finding out about these secret meetings with Sarah was the last straw for her. Raj got us a new invitation with the correct address, but the damage was done. The rumors had spread through the Navy Wives network. Jane is now known as the difficult, demanding wife who made a fuss over an invitation. Some wives have stopped inviting her to their social gatherings. To make matters worse, Sarah had the audacity to send me a message saying she understands what I'm going through and that she's there if I need to talk. She mentioned that my mother had shown her pictures of Jane's recovery period, including some private moments in the hospital. I was furious that my mother had shared such personal information. Jane now doesn't want to attend the wedding at all. She says my mother has turned what should have been a happy celebration into a source of gossip and humiliation. The other day, she overheard someone at the base commissary referring to her as that crazy lieutenant's wife. My sister tried to mediate, but ended up revealing more troubling information. Apparently, our mother had been planning to invite Sarah to family events, hoping to create opportunities for us to reconnect. She had even told some family members that Jane's medical retirement might be a good time for me to cut my losses. I'm at a breaking point. Jane is hurt, humiliated, and angry. My mother refuses to acknowledge any wrongdoing, insisting she's acting in my best interests. Sarah keeps trying to insert herself into the situation. And my colleagues and their wives are all watching this drama unfold. Jane has started seeing a counselor to deal with the emotional toll of all this, on top of her ongoing physical recovery. She's suggested we move to a different base after the wedding. Part of me thinks she's right, we both need a fresh start away from all this drama. I haven't decided how to handle my mother yet. Her actions have crossed so many lines. Not only did she disrespect my wife and our marriage, but she also shared private medical information and actively tried to humiliate Jane in our military community. Every time I think about her plotting with Sarah behind our backs, I feel sick. The wedding is in 6 weeks, and I don't know if we'll attend. Raj and his fiancée have been understanding, but the whole situation is tainted now. What started as a simple issue with an invitation has exposed years of manipulation and betrayal by my own mother. Update 2: the situation has exploded beyond anything I could have imagined. Last week, one of Jane's friends in the Navy Wives group sent her complete screenshots of a private group chat my mother had created. What I discovered made me physically sick. The group was titled Prayer Circle for Dev and Jane, but it was anything but prayerful. My mother had been sharing intimate details about Jane's medical condition, complete with photos from her hospital stay. These included pictures of Jane in her hospital gown, during physical therapy sessions, and even one of her crying after receiving her medical retirement news. I had no idea my mother had taken these photos during her hospital visits. Sarah, my ex, was a key member of this group. She wasn't just participating, she was actively fueling the fire. She shared stories about how different she would have handled things, constantly comparing herself to Jane. The worst part was when she claimed she had seen Jane shopping at the mall, carrying heavy bags, suggesting that Jane was exaggerating her injuries for attention. The group chat had over 20 members, including wives of senior officers. My mother painted Jane as an unstable, attention-seeking woman who was using her injury to manipulate me. She shared private conversations from our family dinners, twisted to make Jane look bad. She even speculated that Jane's mental state was deteriorating and that she might be developing a personality disorder. The conversations went back months, predating the wedding invitation incident. They discussed everything from Jane's physical therapy appointments to our private arguments. My mother had been monitoring our lives through the neighbors and other Navy wives, creating a detailed narrative of our marriage problems. When I confronted my mother with the evidence, she tried to justify it by saying she was seeking support from other military families who understood our situation. But the chat logs showed a different story. She had been orchestrating a systematic campaign to discredit Jane in our military community. The most disturbing revelation came from an unexpected source. My sister finally broke down and told me the truth about our mother's obsession with my marriage. Apparently, our mother had once dreamed of joining the military herself. In her youth, she had applied to the military academy, but our grandfather forced her to withdraw her application. He believed women belonged at home, not in uniform. This explains so much about her behavior. She wasn't just projecting traditional values, she was projecting her own buried resentment. Seeing Jane succeed in the career she was denied had triggered something in her. Instead of supporting Jane, she chose to tear her down. I reported the unauthorized sharing of Jane's medical information to the base authorities. The investigation revealed that some of these photos had been taken in restricted areas of the military hospital, making it a serious breach of protocol. My mother had not only violated Jane's privacy but also military regulations. The fallout was immediate. Several officers' wives involved in the group chat faced disciplinary actions through their husbands' commands. Sarah was banned from entering the base. My mother's social standing in the military community, something she prided herself on, was completely destroyed. Raj, my colleague, has been surprisingly supportive through all this. He and his fiancée visited us at home to personally apologize for any part they played in this mess. They shared that my mother had approached them multiple times with concerned stories about Jane's mental state, trying to convince them to uninvite us from the wedding. The hardest part was dealing with the family divide this created. Some relatives sided with my mother, saying I was overreacting and that she was just trying to help. Others were horrified by her actions and have cut contact with her. My sister revealed that our mother had been showing these hospital photos at family gatherings when Jane wasn't present, using them to gain sympathy and paint herself as a concerned mother-in-law dealing with a difficult situation. I discovered that my mother had even started a separate chat with Sarah about helping Dev see the truth. They had been planning scenarios where Sarah could accidentally run into me at various places. Sarah's divorce wasn't as coincidental as it seemed. She had moved back to our city specifically because my mother convinced her there was hope for us. Jane is devastated but handling it with remarkable strength. She says this explains all the strange behavior she's encountered at military functions over the past months, the whispers, the odd looks, the sudden exclusions from social events. What she thought was just post-retirement adjustment was actually the result of my mother's calculated campaign against her. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I feel it's time to share how things have settled. The wedding came and went, we didn't attend. Raj understood our decision, especially after everything that happened. He and his wife sent us a kind note after their honeymoon, saying they wish things had been different. The base investigation into the privacy breach concluded last month. Several of the wives involved in the group chat faced serious consequences. Their husbands' commands took the breach very seriously, especially since some of these women had access to sensitive military information through their positions in family support groups. They were removed from their volunteer positions and banned from certain base activities. Sarah tried to contact me one last time through a mutual friend. She sent a letter claiming she was manipulated by my mother and didn't understand the full situation. She wrote that she regretted her actions and hoped we could all move past this. I didn't respond. The letter went straight into the shredder. My mother's attempts at reconciliation have been persistent but manipulative. She tried to use my sister as a mediator, sending tearful messages about how she misses her son. Last week, she sent an apology letter, but it came with conditions. She wants us to understand that she acted out of love. She also wants us to forgive Sarah and suggested we all meet for dinner to clear the air. That letter joined Sarah's in the shredder. Some family members think I'm being too harsh. My aunt called last week, saying my mother is suffering and I should at least hear her out. They don't understand that this isn't just about the group chat or the wedding invitation. This is about years of undermining my wife, violating our privacy, and trying to destroy my marriage. Jane has shown incredible strength through all this. The base authorities not only addressed the privacy breach but also took steps to restore her reputation. The base commander's wife personally apologized to Jane and has been actively including her in military spouse events. Many of the wives who were in the group chat have sent individual apologies, admitting they were wrong to participate in my mother's campaign. We're moving forward with our lives. I've accepted a position at a different base across the country. It's a good career move for me, but more importantly, it's a fresh start for us. Jane is excited about the move. She's been in contact with the military spouse support group at the new base, and they've been welcoming. I've maintained complete no contact with my mother and blocked her on everything. I returned all the photos and mementos she tried to send through relatives. My sister understands my decision, though she maintains her own relationship with our mother. I don't hold that against her, she has to make her own choices. Looking back, the wedding invitation was just the trigger that exposed years of toxic behavior. My mother's obsession with controlling my life, her resentment towards Jane's military career, and her manipulation of our social circle, it was all there, waiting to explode. Some people have suggested family counseling with my mother. I'm not interested. Some bridges, once burned, should stay burned. Jane and I are focused on building our new life together. She's started a support group for medically retired service members, turning her experience into something positive. This will be my final update. We're moving next month, and I want to leave this chapter of our lives behind us. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the people who claim to have your best interests at heart are the ones you need to guard against the most.